Fave is actually the leading fintech company in Southeast Asia. So it's also in Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia.
A lot of time, success comes from how you deal with rejection, how you deal with failures. And for every time you fail, remember, it is not that you really fail. It is just that you not yet succeeded. You fail when you give up. Remember your teachers, remember your families, friends, and everyone that have helped you along the way.
Wow.
And help them along.
Wow.
Pay it forward.
Hi, welcome to Meet the One show. This show is to inspire young adults that want to start new business, and we actually interview a lot of business owners from different industries to give you ideas, tips, and also insights in terms of how can you start business early. So today we have a very special guest with us. He's Chen Chow, the co-founder of Fave, and I just want to share a little bit about his background. So he used to be in Accenture, and then after that JobStreet, Groupon, and of course the previous name for Fave was K-Fit and then Fave. So before I let Chen Chow introduce himself, I just want to share a little bit more. So Fave is actually the leading fintech company in Southeast Asia. So it's also in Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia. But the rest, I'll let Chen Chow introduce himself. So yes, maybe you can share a bit about your experience, your background, what makes you decided to co-found Fave together with the founder, and then maybe just share a little bit of your journey.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for having me. Honored to be here at the Meet the One show. Yeah, so I'm Chen Chow, just call me CC. Yeah, so I think that I came from a small town, Wuan Xin, in the southern part of the Penang mainland. So I think when I finished my high school, I was lucky to get a GPA scholarship. So that was actually my first flight of my life when I went to US to study. Yeah, the scholarship actually covered the tuition fee worth more than my parents' lifetime income. So that sort of gave me a life changer. Went over, I didn't even really speak much English. Took an English test. Out of all the new students, was one of the worst 8 out of 3,000 students. That was how I started my uni. Luckily, I graduated. After graduation, I got into Stanford for a master. Unfortunately, couldn't raise any money, so never got a chance to live my Silicon Valley dream. Came back to Malaysia. I think that's what you shared just now. I started my career at Accenture, and I went to JobStreet as a product manager. Then went on a Groupon journey, started in Malaysia, went on regional, APAC, and then eventually YOLO, you only live once. Decided to quit everything, drop everything, took the life savings, put it on, took zero salary, and jumped in to start K-Fit in 2015. I know K-Fit and me doesn't work that well. They call me K-Fat, unfortunately. But that was how we started. And 2016, we got a chance to acquire Groupon subsidiaries in Southeast Asia, turn into Fave, and built the last few years. And now we are part of Pine Labs Group since the acquisition last year.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard about the acquisition as well, but I think one thing that is very significant change is when you decided, okay, YOLO, you let go of everything. I wonder, is that something that you already have in mind? I mean, when you went to the US, or is it something that it just happened during that? Like maybe you can share a bit like how it leads to that change.
Yeah, so actually, I never dreamed of starting a company, to be honest. I think I came from a simple background, and even after I graduated, I started working. Even when I joined Groupon that time, never thought that I would dare to start a company. And I think the trigger point was just that when I got a couple of job offers, and then I told Joel that, hey, I got some good offers, maybe I want to consider to move over. One in a ride-hailing, one in a telco. He basically said, why don't we start a company? And I think that's how I quit my jobs, and the next couple of days went on and jumped on this journey.
And maybe you can share also, from now, looking back, like maybe any insights like across your journey, you'll be like, oh, that kind of give you like a good idea in terms of how you can bring your company, grow bigger. Maybe just a little bit when like you looking back where you were until now, that kind of journey.
Yeah, interesting. So I think a lot of times is that, because hindsight is 2020, right? We know what it is, and I think today's world, things are changing so fast. But I think that a lot of it go back to why you start a company in the first place. I think everyone started a company for very different reason as well, right? So I think it's a lot knowing that, and I think knowing what success means to you and your team, right, as you go along. And because that differs as well. And I think that along the way, I think it's always focus on the big picture, vision, mission. And I think take your heart to work, right? So I think, and whatever things that you don't know what to do, just go back to your heart and say, hey, what's the right thing to do? Do unto others what you want others do unto you. So I think a lot of that is that journey, because along the way you don't know what kind of obstacles will come. Like COVID, no one will have planned it, right? Right now we're in this moving towards stagflation, recession, inflation kind of scenario. No one knows what it is. And I think the other one is enjoy the ride of the journey rather than the destination. And maybe I quote Mark Chang, the founder of Job Street, right? He was saying that back then in 1997, when he started Job Street, that he thought that he will start a company at free time to drink coffee. He got that free time in 2015, which is 18 years later. And then when he sold his company at the end of 2014, right? And people say, oh, you did an overnight success. And it's like that overnight success took almost 20 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's a journey. Yeah.
But now, I mean, he can chill a bit, right?
Yeah, in a way. I mean, one thing is interesting is that I think he decided not to go and build another venture. He went on and do various things of his choice, right? And I think just enjoy the life and live a simple life. He still live. I still remember when I asked him, after you sold the company, how's life changed from you? So he said that maybe now when it rains, I took a Grab. Before that, he always take train or bus. He doesn't even take a Grab or taxi back then.
Today, of course, we have a lot of questions from the children. Their questions are quite interesting. I've heard some of them. I know you haven't seen it yet, so we'll do that. And that, maybe we can also share some advice to them. So let me start with the first question. He asked a very interesting question. So we have 6 questions.
Guys, my name is Edric Darren. Mr. Yo, do you have children? If yes, did Mr. Yo also direct them to become entrepreneurs?
I think, assuming even if you don't have children, like, would you direct them to become entrepreneurs? I think that's the question.
Yeah, good question, Edric Darren, right? So I think that there's very interesting questions that I think you think about that. I think a lot of time, I don't have children, but I think a lot of times I would say that towards the children, I think as you go on is that don't try to live a life of someone else. So I think entrepreneurship journey, just like any other career or any life mission journey, right, is I think that it ties back to your purpose and your journey. Entrepreneurship could be an amazing one for some people, and if you are those people, I would say definitely go for it. And it may not be for some other people. Sure. So I think that maybe some characteristics I think about it. You love challenges. You love going through failures. You love breaking through the typical mold. You want a different life that is changes all the time. You are risk-taking. I think some of those, but entrepreneurship also means that you're not going to get a steady life, which a lot of people look for. You're not going to have a very decent basic life. It's very different, right? You work 24/7 a lot of times. Your life goes through up and down. So I think that
you don't know what's gonna happen next, kind of feeling.
So Darren, I think that for yourself is maybe, and along the way, maybe you may or may not know at your age today whether entrepreneurship is for you. But I think it's embrace that, learn it, and explore it. And along the way journey, you might also find out that maybe when you're age 25, entrepreneurship is for you. And maybe when you're age 35, that's not. Or the other way, maybe when you're hit age 40, it's like that's the right time. So I think all of us have our different timing and for different stage of life that go through that.
Very good, very good. So I hope, Edric, you have your answer. He has 4 questions. I'm going to go through the next one.
Can this fave last forever? How to get rich through fave?
Maybe I phrase it slightly differently, right? So I think can fave last forever? I think a lot of things will build a long-term mission, right? In today's exactly the form may or may not be the same. But I think the journey, the team, the mission really continue, definitely, right? And I think on your question, can you get rich? I think that there are many ways we can get rich. I think that the main thing is, especially you go on building entrepreneurship, is richness of wealth is a byproduct. If you do well, money and all those things could come. But money will never be enough for anyone. Today, if you have 100,000, you want 1 million. You have 1 million, 10 million sounds good.
Billionaire also feel like they don't have enough money, right?
Yeah, so there will always be more, right, and different. And I think the key is that keep your lifestyle at the right level, and I think spend less than what you earn. And I think focus not on your current income. Let's say, example, when you start work at the age of 23, don't think too much about how much you're going to make that month, that year. but think of your lifetime career.
I see.
Over your 20, 30, 40 years career. How do you build a life? And I still remember Mark Cheng as well. I quote back Mark Cheng, Job Street founder. He asked me back in 2015 when I started this journey, how much is enough for you? Because there is never an ending amount for you. What is enough for you? And a lot of time beyond that is think about what can you do to help others? What can you do to make the impact to the rest of the world? If we are fortunate enough to have a bit more wealth, we have enough to spend. How about many of those who don't have enough to eat? How about many of those who don't have the opportunity for education? What are those who don't have a comfortable life? How can we make a difference in their lives?
Yeah, thank you so much for that sharing. I'll move on to his next question.
What is Fave and how does your services benefit me?
Great question, right? I think that a lot of it, think of it is that I think what Fave does is I think that it brings savings, bring convenience for all the consumers. So when you go out there, whether you want to eat, whether you want to buy something, how does this brings values to you and make your life more fruitful? Yeah, so I think that there are various ways to use Fave, right? So I think whether one is that you found a food buffets that you want to eat, and maybe through this you get a good discount. Maybe you use this to discover a new place that you have never known, or maybe discover a new theme park that you want to go, right, with your friends. Or maybe you want to buy something that you say now you can buy and get a cashback for next time. And or maybe like with your parents' permissions, you can use installment, right? So to get through. Yeah, so I think there are various ways that built through, but I think the key is that I think explore it and I think spend within the means.
Okay, awesome. So I think one last question from him.
Can you give me some tips or action plans that I can do now at my age so that I can also build and expand a business into many countries like you have?
Wow.
Yeah.
I always like that question.
Yeah, so I think great, right? I think great questions. I talk about, I think start young, think young, and it's this girl Alicia from Penang. So I still remember when I was doing talks on applying to US universities. And I think since the age of 12 or 13, and she has been attending the session, right? For every year, she and her father will turn up and attending. And she has a big dream to achieve. And she worked hard many years. Eventually, she got a chance to go to Harvard University, graduated, and now working in Seattle with Microsoft. So I think that you build entrepreneurship, build a business spanning multiple countries. I think there are many aspects, right? I think one is learn the fundamentals, try, and I think talk to different people, explore, read about different countries. Every country has its similarities, but has differences. Let's say, example, even take Indonesia, right? Different parts of Indonesia is very unique. There's many parts. It's not just Jakarta, but it's like there's all different areas. How do you serve the tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities or rural areas or different islands?
So what I hear is read out on different countries and also talk to more people, and any other action plans that Edric can do now, right now.
So I think that today, let's say example, you have internet, right? So I think that today, if you want to learn from anyone around the world, just go to whether it's Spotify or YouTube. There's just so much videos of these people sharing, right? TED Talk is another good one. TED Talk, there's a lot of inspirations there that you can pick up. Find your peers who are in this mission journey together. And
so find your
together,
teammates.
learn together, share together, and grow together. I think the world will be much a better place when we all work together and scale up, right? And I think enjoy the journey and know that it will not be a smooth journey. A lot of time, success comes from how you deal with rejection, how you deal with failures. And for every time you fail, remember, it is not that you really fail. It is just that you not yet succeeded. You fail when you give up.
You remind me of Thomas Edison's light bulb experiment. How he failed many times.
And I think that many people fail many times, right? Howard Schultz, when he built Starbucks, failed many times. So I think all of us go through, last 2 years COVID, many businesses went through the darkest moment. And I think it's how do you come about and move through? Because things will change. It's how do you adapt to it.
Wow, thank you so much for your sharing. Really, really appreciate that. I believe Edric learned a lot as well. I'll move on to two other questions from Wei Xin.
Why do you think business skill is important?
Why do you think business skills are important?
Yeah. So I think that in our day-to-day life, right? So we deal with people, and I think business is a way where we transact, we do services or products for others, and in the between there's money exchanges. Of course, today there's digital money.
Yep.
It's knowing the fundamentals is how do you market it, how do you price it, how do you serve it, how do you sustain it and across board, right? How do you fund it as well? So I think business enable you to see the whole fundamental across. I think as you do business, always go back to the fundamental. Treat others just like how you want others treat you.
So good question, Wei Sheng. He has another question, which is our last question.
May I ask, what did you study in university?
Maybe you can elaborate a bit more as well, whether it's related to what you do now.
Yeah. So Beijing, I studied electrical computer engineering in my universities.
Electrical computer.
Today, to be honest, I know nothing about electrical. I know nothing about computer engineering. I will never survive in any of those. But today, the world is so much different.
Exactly.
We have our Google. So if you think of it today, is that it's no longer about what you study, but it's how you learn how to learn. How do you interact with people? How do you network? How do you pick up something new? Because the world is going to change. When I went to university, I don't have a phone. I don't have internet. I have no laptop. No computers.
I know.
So the world changed a lot. So I think what we study, a lot of it, I think go back to universities is the friends that you make, the people that you network. So let's say back in my uni days, there was someone that was hanging out there. I was chatting with him, but I did not keep in touch with him. Many years later, he became somewhat famous, and that person turned out to be Elon Musk. I was talking to him almost 20 years ago. He was a nobody.
So Wei Sheng, do you hear that?
I did not keep in touch with him.
Cici was talking to Elon Musk.
Yeah, 20 years ago, right?
20 years ago.
Never know. I didn't know that 20 years later, he's going to be this Elon Musk, right? I think everyone has huge potential. You have huge potential. All of you have huge potential. Live up to it, but enjoy the journey as you live up to it, right? That we will go through ups and downs. But yeah, go through that, get help, get support. It is perfectly fine to be not okay. It's perfectly fine to fall down. But how do we climb back up again? How do we go on? And when you get a bit more success, don't forget people who support you along the way. Stay humble and be remembering your roots, because the time when you feel that you are too good, when you feel that you are the world best, when you feel that you are better than everyone else, that's also when you will stop learning. That's also when you stop growing, and that's also when you will go down. Remember that. Everyone can go up. We can work hard. We can work smart. We can get a bit more luck. But remember the roots that you go through, and bring your friends along. Remember your teachers. Remember your families, friends, and everyone that have helped you along the way. And help them along. Pay it forward and make the world a better place. You are the future. I think what we all do is to leave the world a slightly better place for you all. And you all take it forward, take the torch, and you will leave the world a much better place for the next generation.
So I think Chen Chow is ready to also, take on our children as potential future business partners.
Possible.
Right.
I think the world today has no boundaries. Today, all of you have your own internet. All of you have your own social media.
Yeah.
Many of you today can build and gain an audience and go on and transform.
Wow, thank you so much for your sharing. After listening to all the questions from both Wei Xing and Edric, can you share a little bit in terms of how our children can integrate to our lives now? Or maybe you have something specific to share after you listening to them, or maybe some words of encouragement or even acknowledgement to them. Yeah. So I think that would be good.
So I think Wei Shen, Edric, and all the rest of the kids, right? I'm really, really inspired by you all. At your age, I know nothing. I really know nothing. I can't even speak English at the age of 20.
Oh.
Right? So I know nothing. I have never been exposed beyond my small town. I think you have done 100 times better. But you also know that the world today is a much more competitive world.
Yes.
The world is the limit. Go for it, right? I think today, not good enough to be just best in your school or your class. The world will be a much better, different place. And I think that go out there, try different things, unleash your potential. And the potential could be in very different areas. Could be entrepreneurship, could be in arts, could be in environment, could be in sciences, could be in anything. But anything that you do it with full passion. Do it with full heart. I think you, as you go along, will leave memories, will leave impression to people. And I think you want to let people see that anything that you do your best. And a lot of times, remember, how do you shape your future? It's not when people's attention is on you. It's all the little things that you do when no one else is observing you.
Wow.
That's what's going to shape you.
Wow.
When your parents are not there, when teachers are not there, are you going to just lie down and sleep? Are you going to dare copy your friend's homework? Or are you going to dare to do the right things? Ultimately, success or failure is for you to make, and you want to make it work. You can, and today you're way ahead of that runway. So don't slow down. Don't give up. Get the help and be the best in the world. And you can do it. One day, you can change the world in a way, starting from today, one person at a time, one thing at a time, and make your impact felt.
Yes, I believe the children can change the world. They are very amazing, and their questions actually surprised me when I first listened to it. And so it seems like our children are very they really want to know how to do business and all. And just now we've been sharing. In COVID, it's like you don't know whether you have a job, you don't know what's happening. It's very uncertain. So I do see they have a lot of interest when it comes to business. But maybe you can share also how is it that when you were employee and versus running your own business, what are the differences, and some advice to them.
Great that I think you're starting very young, right? I think you start younger than most people. And I think that great that you're in part of this AI talent program where you get a chance to attend this Meet the One shows. I think you are way ahead of your peers in doing this. And I think as you look at this, the fundamentals are the same, right? Finding the co-founders or finding the business partners, getting the business fundamentals and building a sustainable business, learning through ups and downs and working through. It's all the same, right? I think a lot of time is back to fundamental. Right? Do the fundamental right, the rest will take care of itself. It's just like at other times maybe when we talk about business, right, is that focus on the input, the output will take itself. Output is the revenue, profit, and everything. But a lot of times you can't control the profit, but you can control what you do. Right? How do you get the new customers? How do you price your products? How do you serve your customers? If you do all these things right, your profit will come. Right? So I think a lot of that, the same thing with, let's say, getting investors. The same thing is how do you treat them? How do you go through and building on? So I think go back to fundamentals, and I think you are really lucky to be taking this step. You could choose to just go stay on and play with your friends, but you are now in this program in AI Talent to learn and develop yourself. Don't waste the chance. You can make it, and you should make it. Go for it and learn from that. Everyone that you interact, ask more questions, challenge yourself, and make mistakes. Making mistakes is perfectly alright.
Yep.
Don't be scared of mistakes.
Don't worry about all the attempts.
Yeah, wrong attempt, missed attempts. But one thing to remember, don't make the same mistakes too often. learn from each mistakes and be better every time. Take on bigger challenge and go for it.
Can you share just one incident or one lesson that it's very memorable? It's like, it could be 10 years ago or 20 years ago, but it's just stuck with you until now. And, something that you learned from that.
Yeah, so I think one of the memories or lessons that I think stick on many, many years, right? Reflecting back in this whole journey, I think the memories a lot is that how do I see young potential people transform?
Wow.
So let's say take on this startup journey in 2011 when we went Groupon.
Yes.
All the people who joined us during that time and where they are today, many of them are leading various e-commerce, fintech, technology companies, departments in the country. Most of the top companies in Malaysia and regions. They started as a fresh grad 11 years ago. So I think a lot of it is that how to see these people grow, transform, thrown into deep, deep challenges, and they work through. Today, many of them run platforms that are competing against us. I'm always proud of them. It's always inspiring to see where they have gone towards. And I think it's a lot of time the journey of people, and I think many of them have gone way beyond, right? In the end, if you go on it, is that how can we help a bit to others?
And listening to Chen Chow, it's like they're happy to see you grow and make big things. Don't forget to also acknowledge your coach. Your coach has been guiding you throughout, and that's what I want you to remember as well. Now, my second question, which I think we will kind of wrap it up after this, maybe just share one thing something no one knows about you. Just a funny thing. It could be a funny thing, but it's just like, hey, that one is something no one knows about you.
Interesting. Yeah. 20 years ago, I still remember I was like in the computer lab at that time.
Okay.
And suddenly an email came around from my uni saying that there was an alumni at Lu who went on to the International Space Station where our Malaysian astronaut went before. And the first 10 people out of the whole university that send in a good question will get a chance to beam the voice to the space. So I just put my question at that time. I think that if I don't remember wrongly, the question was, what are the things that you learned back in university that help you today to be a NASA astronaut? And I was lucky enough to get a chance, have a 5-second of experience to speak like this, except that my voice is beamed to the space, and the astronaut at the space answered me from the space.
Wow.
And then a few months later, when the astronaut came back to the Earth, I got a chance to meet him. So I think it was something memorable.
And really, really, I want to thank Chen Chow for all the sharing insights. I look forward to all new businesses, because I believe after hearing this, you may have new business ideas that you want to start right now. And do remember, so just now CC has mentioned, right? Start right now. Do it now. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for all the questions. And
wish you all the best. You are the future of this world, and looking forward for you to change the world to a much better place and hand over to the future generation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chen Chow, and thank you everyone for watching. Bye.